The cob basically move around according to conditions, and they come inshore normally on a pushing tide in this part of the coastline. So what happens is, close inshore you get these kind of gutters that run parallel to the beach, and on a low tide there's not enough water in those to hold fish, but as the tide pushes in over the bank behind the gutter, you get a little bit of churning sand and that white milky water coming over the bank and spilling into the gutters, and the cob actually come and move in, and they prepare to be in fairly shallow water because they don't feel so exposed. It's not clean water, there's puffing sand, there's milky water and bubbles, and so they can move around in there feeling relatively safe. And also they have an advantage over the prey species, which rely heavily on eyesight to escape predation, but the cob uses his sense of vibration, that very sensitive lateral line, to pick up bait fish movement and to home in on the bait. So basically when you're driving along the beach, you're watching the formations all the time, and when you see a bank with a little bit of a deeper gutter on the inshore side of it, that's the right kind of spot. And when you see the water filling up in there and getting nice and bubbly and a little bit sandy, those are definitely the kind of spots that you're going to find cob in, and that's where you're going to want to stop and start pulling some of these soft baits through that water and just work it in. You don't need to do a lot of casts. If there's a fish or two in there, they'll pick up the vibrations quite quickly and home in on it. So if you've done 10 casts in an area and picked up no fish, it's more than likely a good move to pack up and look for the next area. The rod and reel that I've chosen to use for casting paddle tails on this particular trip is the Penn Battalion rod. It's a 9'4" rod, so it's a relatively short, light rod, but got good backbone, very, very strong. Some of the other features that make this rod something worth choosing, in my opinion, is the fact that it comes fitted with the Fuji K-series anti-tangle guides, which is really nice for casting braid, especially in the wind. The guides are designed to not get line hang-ups on the guide, so you don't get those wind knots, you don't get snap-offs in the cast. The line travels through very nicely, and it's something that I have noticed when casting with this rod, is that the cast is very smooth, and you don't get that line slap through the guides and the blank. It's actually quite a silent cast, which is really, really nice. And the rod's fairly sensitive, but I've been so impressed with the pulling power of this light little rod. It's absolutely ideal for the job. And I've matched it with the Penn Conflict 2 reel and the 4000 size. Now the Conflict 2 is a new model, and it's actually Penn's lightest weight spinning reel. So it's very, very lightweight compared to other models. It's got a very strong construction. It's tough. One of the nicest features, in my opinion, is the line lay is actually pretty smooth, and that is very important when fishing with braid, and especially when making long casts. If your line lay is not nice and smooth, you're going to pick up problems with your braid. You're going to be throwing bunches off and wind knots. You know, that just makes fishing frustrating and annoying. So I've been very impressed with this. The drag is excellent as well. I think that this Penn Conflict 2 series is something that's going to sell very well. Up to now, I've got absolutely no complaints with it. I've been pretty impressed with it all around. Looking forward to testing it even more. Okay, the braid that I've chosen to use for the cob spinning here in Angola on this trip is the Berkeley Whiplash Crystal 30-pound. This stuff is in a class of its own in terms of thin diameter. It's very, very, very thin, but it's also tough and extremely strong. So you can get a lot onto the spool. You can get longer cast using a thin diameter braid. The other thing I like about it very much is that bright orange color, and it's quite high vis, so I can see at any time where my line is, and it makes it easier for me to keep it clear of rocks, to keep it clear of waves, and also to pick up where my lure is sometimes in low light conditions, just follow the line. So I'm enjoying this braid. It's really good, and I must say it hasn't let me down once yet. I've had absolutely no problems with it. I am impressed with it. It's a good line.